Welcome, everybody. Jennie Cruise is my name. I'm a life coach, mentor, and trainer. And I'm delivering a talk today on mental health and well-being. I work throughout Ireland and even sometimes in Europe doing talks, workshops, and courses on resilience and well-being. And of course, underpinning resilience is our mental health, or possibly our mental strength, I like to call it, because often that term mental health has negative connotations when we talk about people's mental health issues or if they have any concerns about their mental health. In our society, we tend to see that as a weakness. One of the things I want to start with is the idea that, our health, like any part of our health, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, is precious. And I'm not trying to speak to the converted, but often we take our health for granted and we push our concerns about our health, or we push, our care for our health a little bit further down the line from the point of view of, well, I'll get to the doctor tomorrow, or one more deadline, or one more quarter, or whatever it might be before we really kind of address those niggly pains. And I had experience of that myself. I had burnout coming up to 5 years ago now, and it literally nearly cost me my life. So when I talk about resilience and well-being and mental strength, I'm coming from a place of experience, and I'm also coming from practical tools and tips that actually work, that can be integrated into your life. I'm not talking about things that, a lot of people will talk about things, but they've never actually experienced them. My belief is, it has to work for you in your life. Otherwise, it's just another book that you've bought to sit on the bookshelf. It's another meditation, another podcast. It needs to be something that you can integrate into your life. So first of all, let's talk about, I suppose, what keeps us strong in times of challenge. So naturally, with or without COVID, we're in challenging times. Entrepreneurship, running a small business is challenging in itself. I run my own business. I also run a large family, and I've just finished a thesis. So, I know what it's like to juggle. And I also know about the lessons that I've learned along the way when it comes to juggling. And one thing I've learned really well is that the roots of the tree need to be really strong into the ground. And what that is really how well you're looking after yourself. So, of course, we all know that, there isn't enough hours in the day. We're so busy and, there's deadlines to be met. But at the end of the day, one question you have to ask yourself is, who is going to run that business when you're lying flat on your back? Because that's the ultimate question. If you don't listen to the science and you don't put the work in, it's like preventative rather than cure, then, who's going to get that last order? Who's going to get on top of that last invoice? Or who's going to chase that person, or whatever it is that needs to be done to your business that you think at this moment in time that only you can do? I was that soldier. And believe me, the world still turns when you're flat on your back. Maybe not quite as smoothly, but it definitely still turns. Nothing is worth your physical, mental, or emotional breakdown. So let's get into preventative rather than cure. One of the things that really works for anybody in taking care of themselves is being aware. You must be aware of your physical health, your mental health, your emotional health at any time. And of course, how do you become aware unless you pause? So pausing is a really important part of the day. So simple things like, when you come home from work, before you start checking your phone or before you start opening the laptop or whatever it might be, put a ritual in place that there's a pause before the next start. So, for example, when I come home from work, my kind of trade-off with myself is I have some food, I sit down, I watch a bit of TV with my son. We have a show that we watch and it takes about 20 minutes. And that's my complete downtime. And it's after that moment that I allow myself then to think about work again and say, okay, there's an email that needs to go out tonight, or there's a course that I need to log on to, or there's a webinar that I need to run. And I will do work in the evenings. I'm not trying to sit here and think, oh, we don't do, the best thing to do is just kind of do no work. We all know that we're still going to be working more hours probably than the average person. But it's the pause in the middle that re-energizes me. So when I pause, I have some food, I have some decent food to eat, usually food I've cooked myself, but that's another conversation for another day. Then I would have cooked it the day before. Then what I will do is I'll do what I need to do, but I'll allow myself a time frame. So say, for example, I'm sending out an email or I'm sending out invoices. I'll say to myself, okay, that's not too difficult of a job. It's going to take me an hour. I'm going to allow myself from 7 to 8 p.m. I'm going to do what I need to do to finish off my day's work. And then I'm going to have a soak in the bath, have an early night, read a book, watch TV, whatever my reward is, go for a walk, have a glass of wine, whatever my reward is, I'll say I'm going to do this and I'm going to allow myself an hour and then I'm having a reward. And guess what? My phone, I set a reminder on my phone because we all know once the laptop comes open or the emails, we go into this time tunnel where it just fades away and before we know it, hours have passed. So setting time restrictions on that additional work you plan to do when you go home is really, really valuable. And also a reward at the end of it, rewarding yourself. So you've managed to do what it needs to do. You've finished work now. The next phase can be whatever it is that you've chosen for yourself. The other tip that I'm going to give you around phone and email usage, and I know you're all going to bang your head against the wall as I say this, is try your very best to keep the phone out of the bedroom. You know, people say to you, but it's my alarm clock. I say, well, buy an alarm clock. You know, you can buy an alarm clock that takes batteries for like €3 or €4. Even your local spare shop would sell those kind of alarm clocks. I mean, you don't even need to go far for them. Go and buy yourself an alarm clock. And when you go to bed at night, take the phone and leave it on the landing. Leave it somewhere like the bathroom, the landing, leave it out of reach. Because I'm telling you now, getting into bed, scrolling on your phone disturbs your sleep. It disturbs your ability to fall asleep. It inhibits your ability to stay asleep. And the electrical current coming from your phone actually impedes the quality of your sleep. So, I mean, there's 3 elements there why you shouldn't. We also know why we shouldn't, because if you're self-employed, the emails are coming in, the WhatsApps are coming in, the orders are coming in, whatever it might be, are coming in on the phone. And it's like taking your PC or your toolbox from the job and literally sleeping with it under your pillow. How in God's name can your mind actually switch off? And like anything, when you turn something off and you reboot it, like your Wi-Fi box, it works better. When you just leave it running constantly, it depletes. And that's exactly like our own energy. The biggest challenge to your mental health is your physical energy. So when we become overworked, overwhelmed, exhausted, that is when we absolutely crumble underneath challenge. When we are trying to bring our best selves to the workplace and get as much work done, believe it or not, it needs discipline, it needs rules and restrictions. So if it's the case that you're working all day and you're coming home and you're working all night, how long do you honestly think that can last? So allow you to do whatever it is you can do in the workplace. When you come home, obviously the most ideal situation is that you don't have any work to do, but we don't all live in those ideal situations. So if you have work to do, when you come home, pause before you start your second job. Take a pause, take a moment, whether it's a shower, a soak in the bath, something to eat, whatever it may be. Then start the next phase of your job, the work you need to do. Allocate time. If it's something like a webinar like me, I know it's going to take 2 hours. Well, I just have to allocate 2 hours to it. But then I say at the end of those 2 hours, come 9 o'clock, this is what I'm permitting myself to do. I'm allowing myself a cup of hot chocolate. I'm allowing myself, an early night in bed, whatever it may be. But it's really important to reward it at the end because your mind will keep going and lean into the rewards. Also, if you offer yourself a reward, make sure you follow through. So don't get to 9 o'clock and go, oh yeah, well, maybe in an hour and maybe in another hour, maybe in another hour. Because you know what? Your mind will remember that. Your mind remembers when you don't keep your word to yourself. And you need your mind to trust you so that when you tell your mind, oh, just squeeze this last little inch out of it, it will give you that last little piece of juice that you need. Also, when we think about the 4 cornerstones of well-being, sleep is right up there. So if you're bringing your phone or your laptop or your PC to bed with you, you're impeding your ability to fall asleep, to fall back asleep if you wake up, and the quality of sleep that you have. So try and work outside of the bedroom. I mean, if you were a painter or a decorator, or you were a carpenter, or, a mechanic, you wouldn't have all your tools for your job in your bed with you, would you? But yet we have our phones and they're exactly the same. There are tools for running our businesses. So, I mean, there's no benefit you get an email at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. there's nothing you can do about an email at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So leave it out of reach, out of the bedroom preferably, and use an old-fashioned alarm clock if that's what you need to wake up in the morning. And you know what? There's nothing like your phone being in a different room to get you out of bed, to check your phone. So it's a great way of getting you out of bed in the morning. Then the other thing is sleep. I mean, if you're having any mental health or mental strength challenges, sleep is one of the first things to go. And tiredness is a real trait that we're struggling with our mental strength. So I would say to you, have a look at what your quality of sleep is like. If you are struggling to fall asleep or fall back asleep, there's an amazing exercise called box breath. I have a few videos on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. My website is jenniecruise.ie. That's JennieCruise.ie. And you can find a link to my YouTube channel and all my social media posts there. If you're interested in looking up some exercises on breath, breath is really the key to sleep, because what the body requires to fall asleep and to stay asleep is a clear mind. And the only thing that can clear your mind is grounding yourself into something that you can concentrate on. So the reason why box breath is really powerful is it invites us to breathe into 4 different breaths, where we breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds. So it goes in the shape of a box, like, a square or a box. That's why it's called box breath. You can Google box breath if you wish. There is a lot about breathing through the nose, out through the mouth, but to be honest with you, even just counting your breath like that, the beauty or the key to that exercise is actually in the holding of the out breath. And that's because you're not used to holding your breath on the way out. And even doing that 2 or 3 times at night, you'll be amazed at how quickly you fall asleep, or particularly if you wake up in the middle of the night, how quickly you fall back asleep. So another one of the cornerstones of well-being is sleep. The other one is water. So water doesn't have to be water that you drink, because I don't drink a lot of water myself, but I do drink a lot of herbal tea. I also eat a lot of water. In other words, a lot of my food is actually freshly cooked, so I'm not eating processed foods. So whatever way you want to get water into your body, everything works better with water. Everything. Your body, the planet, everything. Everything works better with water. Food, like I said, we could do a talk on that alone. We all know what we need in our body. So if you want your body to work well, if you want to get the best from this machine, you got to give it the best fuel. And that's the bottom line. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm, as bad as the next person when it comes to our goodies or whatever we decide to eat or takeaways. But at the end of the day, when I'm faced, when I feel like I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed, I think, right, I better get this tank moving. I better get something into this tank that I know is going to serve me. And my key to eating well is that I'll make it the day before. So if I am going home from work absolutely exhausted and I have to cook a meal, I'm like, not a hope. I will reach for the sweetest, easiest thing that's just handy. Now, so when I go home today, I'm going home to a meal that I prepared last night after I came home from work, and I had my pause button, and I did some more work, and then I had a soak in the bath, and then I prepared a meal. And it wasn't a huge amount. It was just a pot of potatoes that I peeled and a lump of bacon that's simmering on the cooker. That'll be ready to go when I get home. So it's not that I'm like any sort of a Nigella Lawson in the kitchen, but it means now when I go home, I'm far more likely to have vegetables and food, that's actually cooked from scratch, as opposed to something I'm just going to throw together in a hurry because I'm starving. And then the last cornerstone of well-being is breath. Now, I know I talked about box breath, but the power of breath is really the most undervalued, undiscovered power of them all. So even if you just take 10 long, slow breaths every single day, you can increase your lifespan by 10 years just by breathing slowly and deeply, properly, once a day. Now, it doesn't have to be 10 in a row. It could be 2 now and 5 later, as long as you're just getting that breath flowing in your body. And a really good, simple way, because people get caught up in that whole breathing through the nose and breathing into the belly thing. The easiest way for you to breathe a really decent breath is for you to pretend that you're smelling a flower. So literally, when your mind thinks you're smelling something, it automatically brings your breath to your belly. It's like a signal. It's almost like it's like a feed of something. So think about it like this. If I was to just literally breathe right now into my nose, I instantly go to my chest. Okay, now it's not bad. It's still a deep breath, but if I want that to go right down into my belly, now watch what happens. I'm just going to pick up a marker here, pretend I'm smelling it like it's a flare. When I breathe into my nose, it automatically goes into my belly. The brain has a different signal, so that's really powerful to know. So if you can breathe in through the nose, as far as the belly, and out through the mouth, and out through the mouth as with a little bit of I suppose like a sound, as if you're kind of restraining your breath, like if you're making the sound of the ocean, like, or you can even put your finger up to go against it. That's what we call a regulating breath. And what that means is it regulates your heartbeat, because your heart and your breath are intrinsically linked. They completely work in tandem with each other. When the breath goes up, the heart goes up. When the breath goes down, the heart goes down. So, of course, when the heart is up, that's what causes stress, anxiety, nervousness, all of that. And when we lower the heart rate, we feel calmer and we have more endorphins flowing through our body. So if you want to feel calmer, less anxious and less stressed, start by slowing down your breath. So watch me. 10 times a day. You could be sitting at your desk. You could be sitting in traffic in your car 10 times a day, and notice that the out breath was a little bit longer than the in breath. That's what we call a regulating breath. That's really, really powerful for strengthening your nervous system and feeling more calm. And really, in the short time I have to make this video, that's all I have time for today. But I will be posting more videos on mental strength and resilience and well-being throughout the series. So if you enjoyed this, I hope to see you at many more videos. And thank you so much for your time today. I will look forward to seeing you all soon.